Street Empire.
They ask me what is love, I've been hurt by. If we talking trust, it told me lies. In the world full of devils, it's no surprise. Put on that armor, yeah, how we gon' survive? Let's talk about the GP, it's the program. It make killers and hoes, raging kids with no manners. They say you need God, but they got your praise to send them. They told you get a job and make money, what's the answer? I'm the truth, they scared. They did. They did. I'm the truth, they scared. This world full of lust, she just wants a bed. They walking blindfold, I can see the dead. They say I'm out my mind, the doctor need meds. They say I'm on my grind, these children need fed. Remember
Shalom, fam. We give all praise to the Most High. Kahalab Nawayawa. Bashum Mashat Yawasha. Okay. We're going to start off with Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. So I'm going to show back a few things in ancient history of things we have in modern day time to show that this is not new. Technology is of old. It's been here before. And that's what destroyed us the first time. Some people don't believe Book Enoch, but we got a lot of scholars that confirms it. But 8 and 1 reads, and Isaiah taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them. So he showed them this Satan and his people. He showed them. They came down to UFO. He showed them what he thinks was that, how to use them, how to make weapons. He taught them evil. That was that tree of knowledge of good and evil. He knew things of good, of creation, creating, and he knew evil, how to use them things against men, how to teach men to use them against each other. See, that's what people don't understand. And bracelets and ornaments, and the use of anatomy, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all, and it continues on. And antimony, we see that they broke these things up to make powder for their faces and other things. He also taught them electricity, a lot of things. We go back to were the magical weapons of the Mahabharata nuclear bombs. Okay, one section of Bhagavad Gita called the Book of Drana describes magical weapons called Astra that could destroy entire armies, causing crowds of warriors with steeds and elephants and weapons to be carried away as if they were dry leaves of trees. Another weapon was described as producing vertical, billowing smoke clouds that opened up consecutively like giant umbrellas, reminiscent of the massive rising mushroom clouds produced by the Trinity test. So from ancient times, we have writings in ancient books. People want to call them mythologies because they was trying to hide the secrets of what was going on. And these are from old. We go to Babylon's cylinder seal from 600 BCE shows nuclear bomb and explosion made during the era of Nebuchadnezzar II, who was a Chaldean king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Cylinder seals were invented around 3500 BCE in the Near East at the contemporary sites of Susa in southwestern Iran and Uruk. In southern Mesopotamia, made from the hard stones, these seals were used as an administrative tool, a form of signature, as well as jewelry and as magical amulets. Later versions would employ notations which Mesopotamian cuneiform. But if you see on these artifacts, we see symbology of weapons, nuclear weapons. Just move. That's what we see here. Ancient times, they showing these things been here. Ben had knives, Ben had weapons. We go to the Lagrange Cup. It is known to due to its depiction of a scene involving King Lycurgus of Thrace. Is a 1600-year-old jade green Roman chalice that changes color depending on the direction of the light upon it. It baffled scientists ever since the glass chalice was acquired by the British Museum in the 1950s. They could not work out why the cup appeared jade green when lit from the front but blood red when lit from behind. The mystery was solved in 1990 when broken fragments under a microscope and discovered that the Romans artisans were nanotechnology pioneers. They impregnated the glass with particles of silver and gold ground down until they were as small as 50 nanometers meters in diameter, less than 1,000th the size of a grain of table salt. They had nanotechnology back in the ancient days. It's not new. They wonder how they was be able to do these things and build these pyramids and all these places, but we know the ones came down, the Watchers, they built most of the pyramids, starting off. Then the Nubians, Kemet, the Nubians, then the Israelites, and other cultures built them. Examples of drug use thousands of years ago abound: Escatado, 2010, Fulpo, Horowitz, and Weaver, 2010, Goodman, Sherratt, and Lovejoy, 2007. Mead, an alcoholic drink, was made from fermented honey, was first used about 8,000 BCE, and beer and berry wines were first used about 6,000 BCE. The ancient Sumerians used opium, starting about 5,000 BCE. Ancient Egyptians used alcohol in 3,500 BCE, while ancient China used cannabis, the source of marijuana. Around 3000 BCE, ancient people in what is now Switzerland ate poppy seeds, the source of opium, in 2500 BC. So we can go back, we see these people using drugs and doing this thing for a long time. It's not new. That's how they know how to use it, sell it, use it against you. Okay, cocoa leaves. The source of cocaine has been chewed for thousands of years. Folk medicines made from plants and herbs have also been used since ancient times. People in ancient Palestine drank wine in 350 BC. Ancient Greeks drank poppy juice in 300 BC. And about the same period, South American tribes using hallucinogen called cohaba, made from mimosa beans. The Chinese and other Asians were using opium regularly by 1000 CE. Native Americans used tobacco before being discovered by Columbus in 1492. The use of various drugs has also been common in many societies. The anthropologists have studied Durant and Thacker, 2003, Page, and Singer, 2010. Drugs is not new either. They've been doing these things for a very long time. Okay. Earliest records of prisons come from the first millennium BC, located at the areas of mighty ancient civilization in Mesopotamia and Egypt. During those times, prisoners were almost always stationed in the underground dungeons, where guilty or suspected criminals spent their life either awaiting death sentence or a command to become slaves, often working as galley slaves. The exception from that rule comes from the home of modern democracy, Greece. Their prisoners were held in the poorly isolated buildings where they could often be visited by their friends and family. Primary source of their detention were not dungeons, high walls, or bars, but simple wooden blocks that were attached to their feet. Ancient Roman Empire, however, continued to use harsher methods. Their prisons were built almost exclusively underground, with tight and claustrophobic passageways and cells. Prisoners themselves were held either in simple cells or chained to the walls for life or for time. As slavery was accepted norm in those days, majority of prisoners that were not sentenced to death were sold as slaves or used by the Roman government as workforce. One of the most famous use for the slaves in the Roman Empire was as gladiators. So we know who was a lot of those gladiators because we know who was a lot of those slaves then. This ain't new, man. Prisons, they had them a long time. It's been going on. And we even see it in the Bible when, when a man picking up sticks and stuff. Okay. Lincoln Springer. Okay. Now, to the rise of the Greek city states, do we see a civilization more than passively concerned with the delicate balance between food supply and population? Ancient Athens was especially troubled by demographic pressures. Thus, the ancient Greek philosophers, particularly Plato and Aristotle, were more than sensitive to the relationships between population and resources. When postulating the idea of size for a city state of their day, cold reality, not metaphysics, was their inspiration for their writings. Okay, we go down. Harvard University Press, 2008. Okay. A select group of Billionaires met in semi-secrecy in May 2009 to find answers to a nightmarish concern. Their worst nightmare was in imminent danger of runaway climate change. The, the burgeoning levels of the hunger worldwide, the spread of weapons of mass destruction. The nightmare was of other people, lots of other people. The self-styled good group included Microsoft founder Bill Gates, media mogul Ted Turner, David Rockefeller Jr., and financiers George Soros and Warren Buffett. The London Sunday Times said they discussed a plan to tackle overpopulation, something they consider a potentially disastrous environmental, social, and industrial threat. So we see in ancient times they wrote up these philosophies of population control, and we know they was committing them. And we see nowadays these people who done these studies, they're using these same rules. A lot of them descend from these same people, these bloodlines of the Watchers to follow. A lot of them mixed with the first Adam, but people don't still understand that yet because there's more than one Adam. I'm gonna end it right there. We'll come back for another one later. All praise to the Most High. Kahalaba na Yahweh. Bashem Mashat Yahweh Shai.